April 14th, 1912, 11:40 at night. You're a passenger on the most famous ship in history, and 30 seconds from now, an iceberg is going to open her side like a tin can. Here's the question. This video answers honestly. Could you survive the Titanic? Not movie you. Real you, with your reflexes, your instincts, and your very human habit of waiting to see what everyone else does first. Because here's the truth the legend hides. 68% of the people on that ship died. But survival wasn't random luck. It came down to about 5 decisions made in the space of 2 hours and 40 minutes. Make them right, and your odds transform. Make them like most people did, and you're in the water. Let's live it, minute by minute. First, 30 seconds of context, because the disaster starts before the ice. The night is flat, calm, and moonless. The worst possible combination. No waves breaking against the berg's base, nothing to catch the eye. The 2 lookouts in the crow's nest have no binoculars. The key to the locker went missing in Southampton. So the iceberg is spotted at around 500 meters, 37 seconds out. First Officer Murdoch orders hard turn and engines reversed, and the ship almost makes it. Almost. She grazes the ice along her starboard side, and that graze is worse than a head-on crash would have been. It opens a string of thin wounds across 6 compartments instead of crushing one. 11:40 p.m. The impact. Here's what you actually feel. Almost nothing. A faint shudder. A grinding vibration that lasts 7 seconds and stops. In the first-class lounge, the card games don't even pause. Some passengers see chunks of ice on the forward deck and start a snowball fight with them. That gentle little bump has just sliced open 6 compartments worth of hull below the waterline, and the mathematics of the ship are already settled. She can float with 4 compartments flooded, not 6. From this second, the Titanic is a solved equation. She has about 2 hours and 40 minutes to live, and this is decision 1, the one that quietly sorts the living from the dead before anyone even knows there's danger. What do you do with a weird noise and no instructions? Most people did nothing. The ship is warm, enormous, and famously unsinkable. The band is playing. Going back to sleep is the socially normal choice. And the socially normal choice, tonight, is the fatal one. The survivors' pattern is brutally consistent. The people who lived treated a small anomaly as real information. They got up, they dressed, they asked questions and kept asking. You don't need to panic. You need to be the person who investigates while it's still quiet. Because in every disaster, the deadliest phase is the calm one. When acting early looks embarrassing and waiting looks reasonable. So, you're up. Now dress like your life depends on it, because it does. Every layer of wool you own, your warmest coat, and that clunky white life belt, on now, under the coat. It's -2 degrees outside, and where you're going, insulation is currency. 11:50 p.m. Decision 2, start moving up, now, while the corridors are empty. And here, your ticket decides how hard this night is going to be. If you're in first class, the boat deck is practically above your bedroom, and a steward will personally knock on your door. If you're in third class, you are far down and far back, in a maze of corridors you were never allowed to leave. And tonight, some of the gates, and the confusion, and the language barriers will cost hundreds of people every minute they have. The numbers tell the story with terrible clarity. In first class, most survived. In third class, 3 out of 4 died. Same iceberg, same ocean, different starting line. But the lesson works for any class, on any sinking anything. Your survival currency tonight is distance to the exit, and it is draining. Learn the route up while nobody's blocking it. If a gate is shut, don't queue politely in front of it. Find another way, because on this ship there is always another staircase, and the people who treated barriers as suggestions are massively overrepresented among the survivors. 12:25 a.m. The boat deck. And now the decision nobody expects. Getting into a lifeboat feels like the dangerous choice. Stand here for a second and see it their way. The Titanic is a floating city, lit up, warm, apparently fine, a slight lean, nothing more. The lifeboat is a tiny wooden shell, swinging on ropes, about to be lowered 20 meters down into a freezing black void. Early on, officers are practically begging people to board. Boat 1 leaves with 12 people in it. 12. It has room for 40. Your brain will scream to stay with the big safe crowd on the big safe ship. That instinct, tonight, kills. The rule that saves you is one sentence. The moment leaving looks premature is exactly the moment to leave. In every evacuation, the early boats, the early exits, the early decisions are the cheap ones. The price only ever goes up. And now, a detail almost nobody knows, which doubles some people's odds, which side of the ship you walk to. On the port side, Officer Lightoller is enforcing women and children first, as if it means women and children only. Men are turned away from boats, leaving with empty seats. On the starboard side, Officer Murdoch is filling boats with whoever is standing there when no more women step forward. Same ship, same night, 2 different survival systems, 30 meters apart. If you're a man, that coin flip of geography is worth more than money. Far more of the men who survived left from the starboard side. So tonight, the answer is starboard, aft, where the later boats are still loading. Walk there now. 1:30 a.m. Say the boats are gone, or the crowd is a wall. Now everything becomes about one thing, the water and how you enter it. Understand what that water is. -2 degrees Celsius. Salt water freezes later than fresh, so it can be colder than 0 and still be liquid. And what it does to a human body has a schedule. Second 0 to 60, cold shock. The gasp reflex. Your body forces a huge involuntary breath, and if your face is underwater when it happens, that breath is the last one. Your heart rate spikes. You hyperventilate. You cannot control it. You can only ride it out, keeping your airway high for about a minute until the screaming in your nerves settles. Minute 1 to 15. Your muscles are being disconnected. Fingers first, then arms. Swimming ability doesn't fade, it collapses. Strong swimmers die meters from wreckage because their arms simply stop answering. After that, hypothermia. But here's the fact that rewrites the whole night. Most people in the water that night never lived long enough to be hypothermic. They died in the first minutes of cold shock and drowning, screaming in life jackets that kept them perfectly afloat. The lifebelt keeps your head up. It does nothing for the cold. So your rules in the water are exactly 3. Enter it as late as possible, from as low as possible, protecting your airway. Do not swim to nowhere. Pick a target before you jump, because you have maybe 10 minutes of working arms. And the target is anything that floats that you can get on top of, because a body half out of the water loses heat far slower than a body in it. There is a piece of legend to kill here, that door. 2 people cannot both lie on a small panel. Physics settled that argument. But that same night, about 30 men stood all night on the overturned hull of collapsible Boat B, balancing together in the swell like a human raft. The men who climbed out of the water lived. The men who stayed in it, holding the same wreckage, mostly didn't. Out of the water, beats in the water, every single time, even soaked, even in wind. 2:20 a.m. She's gone. And now comes the part nobody talks about, the sound. 1,500 people in the water, and then, over about 20 minutes, silence. 18 lifeboats float within earshot, most half empty. 700 seats total, 400 of them filled. One boat comes back. 1. Boat 14, Officer Low, after waiting for the crowd to quiet. They pull a handful of people from the water alive. Why didn't the rest return? Fear. The people in the boats were terrified of being swamped by the drowning crowd, so 700 survivors sat on empty seats listening while the sound faded. Almost all of them regretted it for the rest of their lives. If you're in a boat, be the voice that argues for going back, you might save 4 lives. If you're in the water, this is why you got on top of something. Because rescue is not coming in the first hour. The Carpathia's lights don't appear until 3:30. She picks up the first boat at 4:10. So could you survive the Titanic? Run your own night back? Did you act while it was quiet? Dress warm? Lifebelt on? Move up early? Treat locked gates as detours? Board a boat that felt premature on the starboard side? And if it came to the water, airway through the gasp, a target before the jump, and out of the water onto anything that floats? Make those calls, and your odds stop being 68% dead and start looking like the small group who did almost everything right, most of whom watched the sunrise from a lifeboat. The iceberg was never the test. The test was every quiet minute after it, and whether you moved while moving still looked unnecessary. That test hasn't aged a day. It's waiting in every fire alarm you ignore, every exit row you don't check, every quiet anomaly you sleep through.